We're going to turn now to the president of the Violence Project. That's Jillian Peterson. She's a forensic psychologist and professor of criminology and criminal justice, and also the co-author of the Violence Project, How to Stop a Mass Shooting Epidemic. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here, Jillian. How to stop it? We'd all like to know the answer to that, and I think it begins with understanding the why. Every time there's a mass shooting in America, and they happen all too often, we ask ourselves why. What's the explanation? Everything is particular, but are there generalities? How do you answer that question of why?
Yeah, we study cases where perpetrators have killed 4 or more people in a public setting going back to 1966. We've built a database. We've interviewed perpetrators and the people who knew them to try to understand what this pathway to violence looks like so that we can stop it. And we do see this common pathway, typically involving a chaotic early childhood with violence in the home, developing into a crisis point where the perpetrator's behavior is changing. In school mass shootings in particular, over 90% of perpetrators tell other people that they're planning to do this. They're suicidal. This tends to be designed as a final act. They study other perpetrators that came before them. And then, of course, they have the ability to get their hands on the weapons that they need to carry this out.
You know, Jillian, we heard earlier from the chief of police in Nashville who told us that this shooter targeted children in this school, also targeted the staff, might have sought out the head of the school intentionally. What stands out to you when you hear what we know so far about this shooting in Nashville?
You know, perpetrators tend to target the location and the people that represent their grievance with the world. So we see that perpetrators often kind of hate themselves, often have previous suicide attempts, and then they pick somebody that they blame for how they're feeling. And so school shooters tend to blame schools. We know that former students are the most common type of perpetrator to target a former elementary school, and typically they have some sort of grievance with something that happened at that school. But we'll have to see as more information emerges if that's the case here.
Hey, Jillian, Nate here. You say it's important not to give the perpetrators too much attention. You don't even use their names in your book. But here in America, for some reason, we're fascinated by who the person is. We want to know their age, their race, their gender, where they're from, all of these long list of things before we even get to the actual shooting itself. But why is it important to focus on the why and not just the who?
You know, these are designed to be public spectacles. Perpetrators are looking for fame and notoriety. They leave these manifestos behind to get their message of anger and hate out to the world. And so we all are the people that consume this. We are the spectators of this horrific violence. And their goal is to make the history books. Their goal is to inspire other shooters behind them to be known for this in a way that they weren't known in life. So the more that we can do to starve perpetrators of that attention, that helps stop the social contagion and doesn't give perpetrators that fame that they're seeking.
And I want to follow up to Nate's question, because I struggle with this every time this story happens. Should we cover it? How should we cover it? Do you think that by us covering it, are we giving people ideas? I'm always in a quandary about what is the right thing to do here. I don't want us to become desensitized to it. I think people need to know about it, but is it wrong to continue to cover it? Where do you stand on that? I don't know what to do.
It's a good question. Yeah, it's really hard to know exactly how to approach this. In our work, we do tell the deep stories of where these perpetrators come from. It's important to understand these pathways to violence if we're going to ever stop this from happening. At the same time, we don't need to give the perpetrator the attention they're seeking by showing their name, showing their face, spreading their manifesto. The more we can focus on the victims and the heroes, I think the better.
All right, Jillian Peterson, thank you very much. We appreciate it.